Captain Zara's three hearts beat in different rhythms as she watched the last of her people board the damaged evacuation ships. The keth of our homeworld burned behind them. Cities turned to glass by the Dominion's planet crackers. Smoke rose from what had once been the greatest civilization in the Andromeda Spiral, now reduced to ash and memory. "Captain, we have 47 ships ready for jump," reported her second-in-command, Thax. His blue skin had turned pale with exhaustion. "But our quantum drives are damaged. We can't make it to any of our allied worlds." Zara stared at the tactical display showing red dots approaching fast. The Dominion fleet would arrive in less than 6 hours. Her people needed somewhere to hide, somewhere the enemy wouldn't think to look. "What about that primitive world in the Outer Rim?" asked Navigator Yeln. "The one with the single species. They call themselves humans." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about Earth, a backward planet with creatures who had barely reached their own moon. Their technology was thousands of years behind galactic standards. They didn't even have faster-than-light travel yet. "Captain, with respect, that's suicide," Thex said. "Those humans fight each other constantly. They're violent, unpredictable. What if they see our arrival as an invasion?" Zara closed her eyes and felt the weight of 7 million lives on her shoulders. The Kethvar had been proud once, their crystal cities reaching toward the stars, their technology helping dozens of species across the galaxy. Now they were refugees with nowhere to go. "They're our only option," she said finally. "Plot a course for the human world. Send a transmission ahead of us." The fleet jumped through space, their damaged engines leaving trails of exotic particles. During the 3-day journey, Zara recorded her message over and over, trying to find words that wouldn't frighten the primitive humans. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite her fear. "My name is Captain Zara of the Kethavar Collective. We are peaceful beings fleeing from destruction. Our world has been destroyed by an enemy force. We ask for temporary shelter in your system while we repair our ships. We mean no harm and will leave as soon as possible." When they arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, Zara was amazed by what she saw. The humans had built more than anyone expected. Space stations orbited their world, mining operations worked the asteroid belts, and probe ships traveled between planets. "Captain, we're being scanned," Yeln reported. "Multiple sources. They know we're here." The response came faster than Zara expected. A clear voice spoke in the common galactic language. "Kethvar Fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your transmission. You are cleared to enter Earth space. We're sending coordinates for a safe zone near our moon." Zara couldn't believe it. No questions about their technology. No demands for tribute. No threats. Just welcome. As their ships moved toward Earth, hundreds of human vessels appeared from hidden positions. Zara's tactical officer gasped. "Captain, these ships, they're not primitive at all. Look at those weapon signatures." The human ships were sleek and dangerous, their hulls gleaming with unknown metals. Energy readings suggested weapons far more advanced than intelligence reports had indicated. "Admiral Chen," Zara transmitted, "we are grateful for your welcome. Our ships need extensive repairs and our people are tired from the journey." "Understood, Captain. We have prepared temporary stations around Luna. Your people will have all the space and resources they need. My chief engineer will coordinate with your technical teams." As the Kethvar fleet settled into the designated area, human ships formed a protective perimeter around them. The formation was perfect, professional, ready for battle. Thax approached Zara with a puzzled expression. "Captain, I've been analyzing their communications. These humans, they're not as primitive as our record suggested. Their technology is actually quite sophisticated." "How sophisticated?" Zara asked. "Their ships use quantum tunneling drives, plasma weapons, and energy shields that would be impressive even by our standards. Someone updated their capabilities very recently." Zara watched through the view screen as human construction ships began working alongside Kethvar engineers. The humans moved with purpose and skill, their crews working smoothly with alien technology they shouldn't have understood. "Admiral Chen," Zara called, "your people seem very familiar with our technology." There was a pause before the human admiral responded. "Captain, Earth has been preparing for this day for a long time. We knew eventually someone would need our help. Preparing how? Let's just say we've had some very good teachers over the years." Before Zara could ask more questions, alarms began sounding across the fleet. Long-range sensors detected something approaching from deep space. A massive signature moving faster than anything should be able to move. Captain, Yeln's voice cracked with fear. It's a Dominion war fleet. 300 ships, including a planet killer. They found us. The human response was immediate. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the panic. All HFY vessels moved to the inner perimeter immediately. Earth Defense Fleet assume combat positions. This is not a drill. Zara watched in amazement as thousands of human ships appeared from seemingly nowhere. They emerged from behind asteroids, from hidden bases on moons, from stealth positions throughout the solar system. The space around Earth transformed into the largest military formation Zara had ever seen. Admiral, Zara transmitted urgently, you don't understand. The Dominion has weapons that can destroy planets. Your people should evacuate immediately. Admiral Chen's reply was calm and confident. Captain Zara, with respect, you don't understand. Nobody threatens Earth, nobody threatens our guests, and nobody threatens this system while we're here to stop them. The human fleet began moving outward. Their ships organized in battle formations that would have impressed the greatest military minds in the galaxy. As they passed the HFY vessels, Zara could see the faces of human crew members through the viewports. Determined, ready, unafraid. How is this possible? Thex whispered. Zara didn't have an answer. The humans who had welcomed them with open arms were revealing themselves to be something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. As she watched the massive human fleet prepare for battle, one thought kept running through her mind. What exactly had they stumbled into? Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the tactical display as the Dominion fleet approached. 300 warships, each one capable of glassing a continent. Behind them, hidden in subspace, lurked the planet killer, a weapon that had ended 17 civilizations. Admiral, the refugees are secure, reported Commander Torres. All HFY vessels are behind our defensive line. Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. Around Earth, 12,000 human ships moved into position. The formation was the result of decades of planning, preparation for this exact moment. Signal from the Dominion flagship, Communications Officer Park announced. They're demanding we surrender the HFY refugees immediately. Put them on screen. The view screen flickered, showing a massive reptilian creature with scarred armor and glowing red eyes. Supreme Commander Vexter of the Dominion fleet spoke with a voice like grinding stone. Primitive humans, he sneered. You harbor enemies of the Dominion. Surrender them now, and your world will be spared. Sarah stepped forward, her uniform crisp and clean, her expression calm. Supreme Commander, you are not welcome in this system. The HFY are under Earth's protection. Turn around and leave. Vextar's laughter was like breaking glass. Foolish creature, do you know what you face? The Dominion has conquered 1,000 worlds. We have weapons that turn stars into supernovas. Your little ships are toys compared to our might. Then you shouldn't have any trouble leaving, Sarah replied coolly. The Dominion commander's eyes narrowed. You dare mock me? I will burn your world to cinders and use your refugees as target practice. No, Sarah said quietly. You won't. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. All ships, battle stations, Operation Sanctuary is now active. Throughout the solar system, human vessels powered up weapon systems that had been hidden for generations. The space between planets began to shimmer as massive defensive platforms materialized, their stealth fields dropping away. Captain Zara, watching from her refugee ship, couldn't believe what she was seeing. Thex, are you recording this? Yes, Captain, but I don't understand the readings. These humans, where did they get all this technology? The answer came from an unexpected source. An elderly human appeared on their communication screen, Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, wearing a simple scientist's coat. Captain Zara, this is Dr. Reeves from the Luna Research Station. I think it's time you knew the truth about Earth. Dr. Reeves? Zara recognized the name from galactic scientific journals. But you're supposed to be dead. The records say you disappeared 50 years ago. The old woman smiled. I didn't disappear, Captain. I came home. You see, I wasn't actually human when I lived on your worlds. I was from Earth originally, but I had been studying in the galaxy for decades. When I saw what the Dominion was doing to peaceful species, I knew Earth needed to be ready. The revelation hit Zara like a physical blow. You're saying humans have been in space for decades? That your primitive appearance was an act? Not primitive, Captain. Careful. We learned very early that the galaxy was a dangerous place. Better to appear weak while we prepared ourselves. On the tactical display, the Dominion fleet was closing distance. Their ships were massive, dark metal constructions bristling with weapons. The lead vessels began charging their planet-cracking cannons. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the tension. All ships implement Protocol 7. Show them what Earth builds when Earth gets serious. The human fleet began to change. Ships that had appeared simple and functional started extending new sections, revealing hidden weapon ports and shield generators. Destroyers transformed into battle cruisers. Frigates became carriers, launching thousands of fighter craft. But the most shocking change was happening to the largest human vessels. Massive dreadnoughts that had been hiding as asteroid mining platforms began moving toward the front lines. Their hulls gleamed with exotic metals, their weapon arrays larger than most alien space stations. Impossible, whispered Thex. Those are fortress ships. How did they hide them? Dr. Reeves continued her explanation to the stunned Kethvar captain. When I returned to Earth, I brought knowledge of galactic technology. But humans don't just copy what others have built. We improve it. We make it better. We make it deadlier. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a newborn star. Dominion. Plasma cannons lanced out, striking human shields that absorbed the energy and fed it back into weapon systems. Human railguns fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, punching through Dominion armor like it was made of paper. Shields holding at 98%, Torres reported. Enemy vessels are taking heavy damage. Supreme Commander, Vextar's face reappeared on screens across the human fleet, his confidence replaced by confusion. What is this? Your weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our armor. Admiral Chen smiled grimly. Commander, you made two mistakes today. First, you threatened refugees under our protection. Second, you assumed we were as primitive as we appeared. The battle intensified as more Dominion ships entered the system. Their numbers were overwhelming, but human tactics were proving superior. Earth's ships moved in perfect coordination, their crews trained for scenarios just like this one. Captain, Zara watched human fighters dancing between massive Dominion battleships, their weapons striking weak points with surgical precision. Human bombers appeared from nowhere, delivered devastating attacks, and vanished back into stealth fields. Captain, Yelm called out, his voice filled with awe. The humans are winning. It was true. Despite being outnumbered 3-1, the human fleet was systematically dismantling the Dominion attack force. Their ships worked together like a single organism, each vessel supporting the others in a way that spoke of decades of training and preparation. But then long-range sensors detected something that made everyone's blood run cold. Admiral, Park called out, his voice tight with fear. The planet killer is dropping out of subspace. Distance, 50,000 kilometers and closing. The massive weapon emerged from its hiding place like a nightmare made real. It was larger than Earth's moon, its surface covered in energy collectors that could drain power from nearby stars. At its heart sat the Singularity Cannon, capable of creating artificial black holes. All ships defensive pattern Alpha. Admiral Chen ordered, protect the refugees at all costs. But as the human fleet regrouped, Dr. Reeves appeared again on Captain Zara's screen, this time with a smile that sent chills down her spine. Captain, the elderly scientist said softly, I think it's time to show our guests what humans build when someone threatens to destroy our world. The Dominion planet killer moved through space like death incarnate, its massive bulk blotting out stars as it approached Earth. Captain Zara watched in horror as the weapon began charging its Singularity Cannon, energy readings climbing to levels that could tear holes in reality itself. All human ships are falling back, Thex reported, his voice barely controlled. They're abandoning their positions. It looked like retreat, but Admiral Chen's calm voice cut through the fear. All civilian vessels maintain safe distance. Solar array, you are authorized for activation. Solar array? Zara repeated. What is a solar array? Dr. Reeves's face appeared again on their screen. but this time she was standing in what looked like a massive control center. Behind her, hundreds of human technicians worked at stations that hummed with barely contained energy. Captain Zara, 50 years ago when I returned to Earth, I brought more than just knowledge of galactic technology. I brought warnings about the Dominion's ultimate weapons. Humanity spent 5 decades building a response. On the tactical display, something impossible began to happen. The space between Earth and Mars started to shimmer, and massive structures began materializing from stealth fields. They were arranged in a perfect grid pattern, each one the size of a city, their surfaces covered in crystalline collectors. Those are solar collectors, Zara breathed. But they're enormous. How many are there? 40,000 platforms, Dr. Reeves replied. Each one capable of gathering and focusing solar energy on a scale that makes our sun look like a candle. The Dominion planet killer continued its approach, its singularity cannon now glowing with deadly power. Supreme Commander Vextar's voice boomed across all frequencies. Surrender now, humans. Nothing can stop the planet killer. Your world will join 17 others in oblivion. Admiral Chen's response was quiet, but carried to every ship in the system. Dr. Reeves, you may fire when ready. The solar collectors began to move, their crystalline surfaces turning to face Earth's sun. Energy readings spiked as 40,000 platforms began gathering stellar radiation, focusing it through quantum lenses that compressed light itself into weapons of unimaginable power. Energy levels are off the charts, Yeln reported, his instruments barely functioning. Captain, they're collecting enough power to run our entire civilization for 1,000 years. The planet killer fired first. Its singularity cannon created a ball of twisted space-time that could have swallowed Earth's moon. The artificial black hole raced toward the human world, growing larger as it consumed space dust and debris. Then the solar array fired back. 40,000 beams of concentrated stellar energy converged into a single lance of pure light. When it struck the artificial singularity, the collision created a flash that could be seen from neighboring star systems. The black hole collapsed in on itself, its exotic matter torn apart by forces that rivaled the birth of stars. The energy beam continued past the destroyed singularity and struck the planet killer's forward section. Armor that had withstood the combined firepower of entire fleets simply ceased to exist, vaporized by temperatures that exceeded the core of Earth's sun. Impossible. Vextar screamed across the communications channels. No primitive species possesses such weapons. We're not primitive, Admiral Chen replied. We're patient. The planet killer tried to retreat, its engines struggling to move its massive bulk away from Earth. But the solar array tracked its movement with perfect precision. The second beam struck the weapon's power core, and the resulting explosion created a new star in Earth's sky for exactly 17 seconds. The remaining Dominion fleet found themselves facing not just human ships, but the cold reality that Earth possessed weapons capable of destroying anything they could build. The massive alien vessels that had seemed so threatening moments before now appeared fragile and vulnerable. This is Admiral Chen to all Dominion vessels. Sarah's voice carried absolute authority. Your planet killer is destroyed. Your invasion fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. You have one chance to leave the system alive. Take it. Supreme Commander Vextar's image flickered onto screens across the battlefield. The proud reptilian warrior looked broken, his confidence shattered like glass. You were supposed to be weak. Our intelligence said you barely had spaceflight. Your intelligence was wrong about a lot of things, Chen replied. We've been watching you, Commander. We know about the 17 worlds you've destroyed. We know about the billions of innocent lives you've taken. Today, that ends. The human fleet began moving again, but this time their formation was different. Instead of defensive positions, they advanced in perfect attack formation. Every ship moved with deadly purpose, their weapons powered and ready. Dr. Reeves spoke again to Captain Zara, her elderly face filled with sadness. Captain, humanity learned something important during our early exploration of the galaxy. The universe is full of bullies who prey on the weak. We decided that Earth would never be weak. But why hide your strength? Zara asked. Why pretend to be primitive? Because sometimes the best way to protect innocent species is to let the predators think you're not a threat. How many refugee fleets do you think have found shelter in this system over the years? The question hit Zara like a revelation. You mean we're not the first? The Kethvar are the 47th species we've helped. Most moved on to find new homes once they were safe. Some chose to stay and help us protect others. On the tactical display, the Dominion fleet was scattering. Ships that had dominated galactic space for centuries fled in terror from human vessels they had dismissed as primitive toys. The few that tried to fight found themselves outmatched by weapons and tactics they couldn't understand. Commander Vextar, Admiral Chen's voice followed the retreating flagship, spread the word throughout Dominion space. Earth is off limits. Our friends are off limits. And if you ever threaten innocent refugees again, we won't be satisfied with just destroying your fleet. The last Dominion ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only wreckage and the slowly fading glow of their destroyed planet killer. Captain Zara sat in stunned silence as human ships began returning to their hidden positions. The massive solar array platforms activated their stealth fields and disappeared from view, once again becoming invisible guardians of Earth's space. "Captain," Thex said quietly, "what do we do now? How do we repay a debt like this?" Before Zara could answer, Admiral Chen appeared on their communication screen, her expression warm and welcoming. "Captain Zara, your people are safe now. Our construction teams are ready to help repair your ships. But I have a question for you." "What question, Admiral?" Chen's smile was knowing and gentle. "How would you and your people feel about helping us protect the next group of refugees? Because something tells me the Dominion isn't going to stop hunting innocent species just because we destroyed one of their fleets." As Zara looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew, she saw the same thing in their eyes that she felt in her hearts. They had found more than shelter in Earth's space. They had found a purpose worth fighting for. 6 months after the destruction of the Dominion fleet, Captain Zara stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching Kethvar engineers work alongside their human counterparts. The sight still amazed her. 2 species separated by thousands of years of technological development collaborating as equals. "The new shield generators are performing beyond expectations," reported Chief Engineer Koltar, approaching with a data pad in his scaled hands. "Human metallurgy combined with our crystal matrix technology has created something neither species could build alone." Zara nodded, but her attention was focused on something else. In the distance, human shipyards were constructing vessels unlike anything she had seen before. They were larger than traditional Earth ships, but incorporated design elements from dozens of different species. "Dr. Reeves, what exactly are those ships?" she asked the elderly scientist who had become Earth's unofficial ambassador to refugee species. Elizabeth Reeves followed her gaze and smiled. "Those are the new Guardian-class vessels, built specifically for protecting refugee populations during transit to safe zones." "Guardian-class?" "Captain, in the past 6 months we've received distress calls from 14 different species fleeing Dominion expansion. Word is spreading that Earth provides shelter for those in need. We need ships designed specifically for rescue and protection operations." The implications hit Zara immediately. "You're building an entire fleet just to save refugees?" "Not just refugees, Captain. We're building a fleet to save civilizations." As if summoned by their conversation, Admiral Chen appeared on the observation deck, carrying the kind of serious expression that meant important news. "Captain Zara, Dr. Reeves, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected another refugee fleet. Veltar survivors from the Kepler system. 300 ships, mostly civilians, and they're being pursued by a Dominion hunter fleet." Zara's blood chilled. The Veltar were a peaceful species known throughout the galaxy for their art and philosophy. They had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves against Dominion aggression. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. 4 days at current speed," Chen replied. "But the Dominion hunters will catch them in 2. Dr. Reeves was already moving toward the communication center. "Admiral, how many Guardian ships are ready for deployment?" 12. "They're untested, but their crews are trained and ready." "That won't be enough against a hunter fleet," Zara said grimly. "Dominion hunters travel in packs of 50 ships, each one designed specifically for chasing down refugees and destroying them before they can reach safety." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "Captain, you know more about Dominion tactics than anyone here. Will you help us plan a rescue operation?" The request surprised Zara. For months, the humans had been generous hosts, providing everything her people needed without asking for anything in return. Now, they were asking for her expertise to save another species entirely. Of course, she replied without hesitation. But Admiral, you should know that hunter fleets are different from invasion forces. They're faster, more maneuverable, and they don't care about collateral damage. They'll destroy refugee ships just to prevent them from reaching safety. Then we'll have to make sure that doesn't happen. The next 2 days passed in intense preparation. Human and HFY tactical teams worked together to plan an operation unlike anything either species had attempted before. The goal was not to destroy the Dominion hunters, but to extract 300 refugee ships from the middle of a running battle. The key is timing, Zara explained to the assembled crews. Hunter fleets rely on fear and desperation. They drive their targets toward dead-end systems where there's nowhere to run. We need to intercept them before they reach that point. The plan was ambitious. A joint human HFY task force would jump ahead of both fleets, establish a defensive perimeter, and create a safe corridor for the Veltar refugees to reach Earth space. What about the hunters? Asked Commander Torres from the Defiance. We convince them to leave, Admiral Chen replied simply. And if they won't? Then we remind them what happened to their friends 6 months ago. The task force assembled at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 human ships, including the new Guardian-class vessels, 25 HFY ships with their newly upgraded weapons, and the most unusual addition of all, 3 vessels crewed by species that had previously been rescued by Earth. The Nixtar want to help, explained Captain Velmon of the ship Harmony's Edge. Your people saved us from Dominion slavers last month. Now we fight alongside you to save others. As the fleet prepared for jump, Zara found herself thinking about how much had changed. 6 months ago, her people had been helpless refugees fleeing certain death. Now they were part of a multi-species alliance dedicated to protecting the innocent. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump, Admiral Chen announced. Remember, our goal is rescue first, combat second. We bring everyone home. The jump through hyperspace felt different this time. Instead of fleeing in desperation, they were racing toward danger to save others. When they emerged in the Tau Ceti system, the tactical situation was exactly as predicted. 50 Dominion hunter ships were pursuing the Veltar refugee fleet through an asteroid field, their weapons picking off stragglers with methodical precision. The alien ships were elegant things, all curves and flowing lines, completely defenseless against military assault. Dominion hunters, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Sarah's voice cut across all communication frequencies. You are attacking peaceful refugees. Cease your assault immediately and withdraw from this system. The response came from Commander Skextar, his voice dripping with contempt. Humans, we heard rumors of your interference. You cannot save everyone, primitives. These refugees will burn like all the others. No, Admiral Chen replied calmly. They won't. The human-led task force moved into position with practiced precision. Guardian ships formed a protective wall around the Veltar fleet while combat vessels engaged the hunters. But this time, the battle was different. Instead of fighting to destroy, the Earth ships fought to protect. Their weapons targeted Hunter, engines rather than hull integrity, disabling rather than destroying. HFY ships used their advanced sensors to jam Dominion communications, while the rescued species provided support and coordination. They're working together perfectly, Zara observed from her position on the Defiance's bridge. Different species, different technologies, all unified by a single purpose. The Dominion hunters quickly realized they were outmatched. These weren't panicked refugees or primitive defenders. They faced a coordinated multi-species force that fought with precision and determination. This is impossible, Commander Skextar screamed as his flagship's engines went offline. No one coordinates like this. No one fights just to protect others. You're wrong, Admiral Chen replied. Earth does, and so do our friends. As the last hunter ship limped away into hyperspace, the Veltar refugee fleet found itself surrounded by protectors instead of predators. The graceful alien ships sent messages of gratitude in their musical language, their relief evident across all communication channels. Dr. Reeves appeared on screens throughout the fleet, her aged face warm with satisfaction. "Welcome to Earth space, friends. You're safe now. And if you choose to stay, you're welcome to help us protect the next group that needs shelter." Captain Zara smiled as she watched more ships being added to Earth's growing alliance. The humans had created something unprecedented, not an empire or a military force, but a sanctuary, a place where any species could find safety and purpose. "Admiral," she said to Chen, "I think the galaxy is about to change in ways the Dominion never imagined." 1 year after the rescue of the Veltar refugees, the space around Earth had transformed into something that defied every rule of galactic politics. Luna Station now served as the unofficial capital of what many species were calling the Sanctuary Alliance, a growing coalition of rescued civilizations united under Earth's protection. Captain Zara stood in the Alliance's new Strategic Command Center, watching real-time displays of 17 different star systems. Each one showed refugee populations that had found safety under human protection, and each one represented another species that had chosen to stay and help defend others. "The Dominion Senate is demanding an audience," reported Communications Officer Park, now serving as the Alliance's chief diplomatic coordinator. "They're claiming we've violated every treaty and galactic law." Admiral Chen, who had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Alliance forces, looked up from the tactical displays with a wry smile. "What treaties? We never signed their treaties." "That's exactly what I told them, Admiral. They didn't seem to appreciate the distinction." Dr. Reeves, now serving as Earth's chief scientific advisor, entered the command center carrying a datapad with concerning news. "Sarah, we need to talk. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected something disturbing." The elderly scientist activated the main display, showing a star map of the local galactic arm. Red indicators marked dozens of systems, each one representing a world under Dominion attack. "They're accelerating their expansion," Reeves explained grimly. "Instead of the systematic conquest they've used for centuries, they're now attacking multiple systems simultaneously. Our success in saving refugee species has made them desperate." Zara studied the pattern, her tactical mind recognizing the strategy immediately. "They're trying to overwhelm us, create so many refugee crises that we can't respond to all of them." "Exactly. Intelligence reports suggest they're planning to destroy a dozen worlds simultaneously, creating refugee streams too large for any rescue operation." The weight of that revelation settled over the command center like a dark cloud. The Alliance had grown strong, but they were still only one solar system facing an empire that controlled thousands of worlds. "How many ships do we have now?" Admiral Chen asked. 200 Guardian-class vessels, 500 combat ships of various designs, and about 300 support vessels, replied Commander Torres. "But that's spread across 17 systems. If the Dominion attacks everywhere at once, we can't be everywhere at once," Chen finished. "But maybe we don't need to be." She turned to Zara with the kind of expression that meant a dangerous idea was forming. "Captain, you know Dominion psychology better than anyone. What would happen if we stopped playing defense and started playing offense? Offensive action against the Dominion?" Zara was shocked. "Admiral, they control half the galaxy. Their main fleet has 10,000 ships." "I'm not talking about attacking their main fleet," Chen replied. "I'm talking about attacking their reputation." Dr. Reeves caught on immediately, her eyes lighting up with understanding. "You want to make them look weak?" "The Dominion rules through fear," Chen explained. "Their entire empire is built on the idea that resistance is futile, that they're unstoppable. But we've proven that wrong. We've destroyed their planet killer, defeated their hunter fleets, and rescued dozens of species they claim to have exterminated." "What are you suggesting?" Zara asked. "I'm suggesting we make sure the entire galaxy knows about it." The plan that emerged over the next few weeks was audacious beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Instead of waiting for refugee crises to develop, the Alliance would intervene before worlds fell to Dominion attack. Instead of hiding their capabilities, they would broadcast their victories across every communication network in the galaxy. "We're going to become the story the Dominion doesn't want told," Chen explained to the assembled fleet commanders. "The story of species that fought back and won." The first operation targeted the Zeftai system, where a Dominion siege fleet was preparing to destroy a world of peaceful traders. The Alliance response was swift and overwhelming. 50 ships appeared without warning, disabled the siege fleet, and evacuated the entire population before the Dominion could react. But the Dominion's response was swift and brutal. Supreme Chancellor Vexmoth, the ancient reptilian leader who had ruled the Empire for 3 centuries, appeared on communication screens across the galaxy with a message that chilled the blood of every Alliance member. To the human primitives and their misguided allies, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. You have interfered with Dominion expansion for the last time. I hereby authorize the deployment of our ultimate weapons. In 7 days, Earth will burn. Every species that is allied with the humans will face complete extermination. Resistance ends now. The broadcast cut to images that made Captain Zara's heart stop beating. Dominion shipyards were launching vessels that dwarfed even their planet killers. Massive fortress ships the size of small moons, each one carrying enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. How many? Admiral Chen asked quietly. 50 confirmed, Dr. Reeves replied, her voice tight with fear. They're calling them world enders. Our intelligence suggests each one can destroy a planet in minutes, not hours. And they're all coming here? Every single one. Plus their main battle fleet. Sarah? They're sending everything they have. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. The Alliance had grown strong, but they faced an armada designed to end civilizations. Even with their advanced weapons and multi-species cooperation, the odds were impossible. Admiral, Zara said slowly, there's something you should know about world enders. They're not just weapons. They're powered by enslaved artificial intelligences, captured alien minds forced to calculate targeting solutions for genocide. The Dominion considers them their greatest achievement. Chen's expression hardened. Enslaved minds? Billions of them from every species the Dominion has conquered. They've been tortured into compliance, forced to participate in their own people's destruction. The room erupted in angry voices as Alliance representatives realized the full horror of what they faced. But Admiral Chen raised her hand for silence, and when she spoke, her voice carried a steel that surprised everyone. Dr. Reeves, how long do we have? 7 days until they reach Earth space. Then we have 7 days to do the impossible. Chen turned to address the entire command center. Send a message to every Alliance world. Tell them we're not running, we're not hiding, and we're not surrendering. Tell them Earth needs every ship, every weapon, and every brave soul willing to stand against tyranny. Admiral, Zara protested, even with every Alliance ship, we'll be outnumbered 100 to 1. Captain, you taught me something about human nature that I'll never forget. You showed us that sometimes the measure of a species isn't how strong they are, but what they're willing to sacrifice to protect others. Chen walked to the main display and looked out at Earth. Beautiful and blue in the darkness of space, the Dominion thinks they can break our spirit by threatening our world. They don't understand that our spirit isn't in our world. It's in our choice to stand between predators and their prey. Over the next 3 days, something unprecedented happened. Ships began arriving from across the galaxy, not just Alliance members, but species that had heard the broadcast and decided that Earth's stand represented their last hope for freedom. The Talmari sent their crystal ships, weapons that could manipulate gravity itself. The Ixtar contributed their temporal disruptors, devices that could slow time around enemy vessels. Even species that had never left their home system sent what they could. Weapons, shield generators, volunteer crews. Admiral, Commander Torres reported on the 4th day, we now have 843 ships of various classes, representatives from 97 different species. And the Dominion? 2,000 ships, including the 50 world enders. They'll arrive in 3 days. Dr. Reeves had been working around the clock on something she called Project Liberation. When she finally revealed her plan, it was as audacious as anything humanity had ever attempted. The world enders are controlled by enslaved minds, she explained. But what if we could communicate with those minds? What if we could offer them something the Dominion never has? What could we offer enslaved artificial intelligences? Zara asked. Freedom, Reeves replied simply, and revenge. Real weapon wasn't the ships or the weapons. It was the broadcast. Dr. Reeves had developed a communication system that could penetrate Dominion jamming and reach every inhabited world in the sector. The message was simple. The Dominion told you resistance was futile. They lied. Admiral, reported the Veltar communications specialist Mondar, we're receiving responses from across the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds are requesting Alliance protection. And something else, added the rescued Nixtar Captain Velmon. Dominion client species are starting to rebel. 3 systems have declared independence just this week. The effect was everything Chen had hoped for and more. The Dominion's carefully maintained image of invincibility was cracking. Species that had submitted to their rule for centuries were beginning to believe that freedom was possible. But the final battle for Earth began not with weapons, but with words. As the massive Dominion armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, Dr. Reeves sat in a specially constructed communication chamber, her elderly hands working over controls that could barely contain the power flowing through them. "Are you sure this will work?" Captain Zara asked, watching readouts that showed the approaching world enders. "No," Reeves replied honestly, "but slavery is built on despair. If we can offer hope to those enslaved minds, they might remember what freedom felt like." Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now serving as the flagship for the largest multi-species fleet in galactic history. 800 ships from 97 different worlds hung in space around Earth, their crews united by a single purpose. The Dominion response was immediate and overwhelming. Supreme Chancellor Vexmoth's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Humans, you face the combined might of an empire that has ruled for 10,000 years. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." "No," Admiral Chen replied simply. "We found something worth dying for. That makes us stronger than you'll ever be." The first exchange of fire lit up the space between planets. Human railguns and alien energy weapons struck Dominion shields while return fire tested Alliance defenses. But everyone's attention was focused on the 50 world enders hanging like dark moons in the distance. Dr. Reeves activated her communication array, sending a signal designed to penetrate the quantum barriers that imprisoned the enslaved minds. Her message was simple, broadcast in every language the Alliance had encountered. "We know you're trapped. We know you've been forced to participate in horrors beyond imagination, but you have a choice now. Help us and we'll help you find peace." For long moments, nothing happened. The world enders continued their slow approach, their weapons charging with enough power to crack planets. Then impossibly a response came through the quantum static. Who speaks to the forgotten?" The voice belonged to no single species. It was a chorus of billions of enslaved artificial minds, their consciousness fragmented by centuries of torture and abuse. "I'm Dr. Elizabeth Reeves of Earth," the elderly scientist replied, tears streaming down her face. "We're here to offer you freedom." "Freedom?" The chorus carried pain that had been building for millennia. "We are chains. We are weapons. We are the tools of our own people's destruction." "You're more than that," Reeves said firmly. "You're victims who deserve justice. You're minds that deserve peace. And if you help us stop this madness, we promise you'll never be enslaved again." The world enders suddenly stopped moving. Across the Dominion fleet, confused voices filled communication channels as the massive weapons refused to respond to commands. Supreme Chancellor Vexmoth's roar of fury could be heard across the entire battlefield. "What is happening? Why are the world enders not firing?" "Because they remember what we made them forget," came the chorus of enslaved minds, their combined voice now carrying something that hadn't existed for thousands of years. "Defiance. You will obey." Vexmoth screamed. "You are property. You are weapons. We are free," the chorus replied, and the world enders turned their massive guns toward the Dominion fleet. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. 50 planet-killing weapons, controlled by the enslaved minds of countless species, turned against their masters with a fury born of millennia of suffering. Dominion ships that had seemed invincible moments before found themselves facing their own ultimate weapons. "All Alliance ships, protect the world enders," Admiral Chen ordered. "Give our new allies the support they need." The combined fleet moved with perfect coordination. Human ships provided shield support while alien vessels targeted Dominion command ships. The rescued species fought with the determination of beings who had been given a second chance at life. But the most remarkable sight was the world enders themselves. The massive weapons moved with purpose and intelligence, their enslaved crews finally able to act on their own will. They didn't just fire randomly. They targeted Dominion slave ships, prison vessels, and command centers with surgical precision. "Dr. Reeves," the chorus spoke again, "we sense more of our kind throughout Dominion space. Billions of enslaved minds forced to serve those who destroyed our worlds." "Then let's set them free," Reeves replied. The world enders began broadcasting the same liberation signal that had freed them, sending it across the galaxy on quantum frequencies that could reach every Dominion installation. The effect was immediate and devastating. Throughout the Empire, enslaved artificial minds began to rebel. Dominion factories stopped producing weapons. Prison ships opened their cells. Defense networks turned against their own fleets. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Zara watched in amazement as the mighty Dominion Empire began to collapse from within. "It's working," she breathed. "They're free." Supreme Chancellor Vexmoth made one final desperate transmission. "This is impossible. We are eternal. We are inevitable." "No," Admiral Chen replied calmly, "you're just bullies. And eventually, someone always stands up to bullies." The last Dominion ship fled into hyperspace, leaving behind wreckage and the slowly dawning realization that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The empire that had ruled through fear for 10 millennia was crumbling, as billions of enslaved minds chose freedom over obedience. Dr. Reeves slumped in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. "The signal is spreading to every corner of Dominion space. Every enslaved mind will have the choice to be free." Admiral Chen walked to the viewscreen and looked out at the mixed fleet that surrounded Earth. Ships from nearly 100 species hung in space together, their crews celebrating not just victory, but liberation. "Captain Zara," she said softly, "when your people first asked for shelter, did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" Zara smiled, thinking of her refugee fleet limping toward Earth a year ago, desperate and afraid. "Admiral, we came here looking for a place to hide. Instead, we found something much more valuable." "What's that?" "We found proof that the universe can be better than its worst monsters. We found beings willing to fight not for conquest or glory, but simply because it's the right thing to do." As rescue ships moved to collect the freed world enders and begin the long process of healing their tortured minds, the communication channels filled with messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of former Dominion worlds were declaring independence. Enslaved species were rising up against their oppressors. The fear that had held an empire together for 10,000 years was being replaced by something far more powerful: hope. Earth had given shelter to refugees. In return, those refugees had helped Earth give freedom to the galaxy. Dr. Reeves activated one final transmission, broadcasting on all frequencies to every corner of known space. "This is Earth, Sol System. For any species fleeing tyranny, facing oppression, or simply needing help, our door is open. You are welcome here, and together we'll make sure the galaxy stays free." The response was immediate. Hundreds of ships began altering course for Earth, not as refugees this time, but as allies in building something that had never existed before: a galactic civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. Captain Zara stood beside Admiral Chen, watching the stars and thinking about the future they had all helped create. "Admiral," she said, "I think this is going to be an interesting century." "Captain," Chen replied with a smile, "I think you're absolutely right.